Welcome to the Reticle Up podcast, where I, 3GunKenzie, will be interviewing competitive shooters, hunters, fishermen, archers, entrepreneurs, and outdoorsmen. Come learn with me as I interview people from all walks of life, in different disciplines, all across the world, from novices to professionals of all ages. No matter what, everyone has something they can teach you, so come join me on the journey. Happy New Year! Welcome back, listeners, to the Reticle Up podcast, and I cannot believe it's 2024. Kind of blows my mind. So this is just me solo right now. This episode is a little bit different than what you're used to. So this year actually marks 10 years of me competitive shooting. And 2024 is kind of a big deal because, what have we really done in our life that we've dedicated 10 years to when we really think about it? So 2024 is kind of a big deal to me because it's something where, it's a good portion of my life. I'm 31 now. 10 years is obviously almost a third of that. And, when I was 21, a decade ago, when I think about it and got into this, it was actually a huge milestone. I started competition shooting. I got my concealed carry handgun permit in Florida. I started shooting more, taking classes, learning as much as I could. And it really just kind of marked that beginning journey that I really didn't know that it would end up here, right? Like all of this in life was not planned for. I kind of found my path in the firearms world, which has been a blessing. And so it's just a big milestone for me. So this episode's a little bit different. I have, like I said, Dave Hartman interviewing me to talk about all of the things I've learned in this 10 years of competition shooting, from how to choose the right gun, how to maintain all of your gear and equipment, because that's been a big lesson. Talked about a lot with, our body in terms of, are we sleeping enough? Are we hydrating enough? How do we kind of stay mentally and physically kind of in the game when I'm at shooting competitions, and all of the things that I've kind of accomplished along the way too, where the business with Reticle Up has kind of come from that, kind of bringing in new shooters into the world. Gals Day at the Range is something that 2024, will be 5 years of that. So, and this podcast, like Reticle Up podcast, was something that was really on my bucket list for a long time. I'd hoped to have a co-host or do something like this with a friend, and ended up just kind of waiting for it to happen, versus when I know if I do it, it's going to happen. So this was a big kind of eye-opening moment for me to look back at 2.5 years of podcasting, and I absolutely love it. So 120 episodes later, here we are. And a lot of that attributes to you. So thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for all the feedback and all the love that you've shown. If you've come on the podcast before too as a guest, thanks for coming on. It's been a truly fun adventure for me. I've learned a lot around people and their journeys and kind of how people landed into the firearms world. And so many stories have just been similar to mine, where it wasn't really planned. Some people grew up with guns, some people didn't, and had to find themselves into this world way later in life, which I think is a lot harder. And so I think about like how grateful I am too to my family, especially my dad, like kind of bringing me around firearms and taking me to the range and taking me hunting. And where would I be if I didn't have all that, right? So yeah, 10 years. Shot GSSF was where I started. Ended up shooting some Steel Challenge, USPSA. Talon had a Cowboy Action Club, and I did that for a little bit and found 3Gun there. And that's obviously escalated. If you follow along with my shooting career, is Precision Rifle Series has come in. I've shot a little bit of NRL 22. Now I'm heading into AK competitions, carbine matches, just run and gun type stuff. I just love the adrenaline, but it's been a learning journey. All of these shooting competitions have different guns, different gear, different rules, and just different environments, different people. I've been blessed too, because I've met some of my best friends in this industry. I don't know where I would be without them. These people are family to me. So obviously I have a career in this world now, which, that wasn't planned 10 years ago. It was all just me finding my way, loving what I did, loving sharing stories, and then the writing portion and all of that just into the media world was something just wasn't planned. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. Again, it's a little bit different. I would love to hear your feedback. So when you're done listening, send me a DM on Instagram or a message. If you're one of my friends that have my phone number, send me a text. Let me know what you think. I know there'll be posts on social media too, so I'd love to hear in the comments what you thought of this episode. Hopefully we don't bore you too much. And just gotta say thank you, Dave, for interviewing me. Thanks for taking your time to do all of that. I had such a fun time recording this. Lots of pickles and injuries along the way. But again, Happy New Year. Thanks for listening. And so here we go.
Welcome to the Reticle Up podcast. I'm your guest host, Dave Hartman. and my guest today, 3GunKenzie, switching it up here, turning the tables.
Could not ask for a better person to do this. Thanks for saying yes.
Well, I am honored to be a part of this. So you have a pretty important milestone in your shooting journey this year, and it is your 10th anniversary of competitive shooting. So congratulations, first of all.
I don't think I've stuck with anything for 10 years ever, so it's actually surprising to me that it came that fast. I'm sure it happened with you. You're like, oh,
yeah,
just went through in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, when we started talking about this, I thought to the same thing. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's right around my 10th anniversary. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, that's 13 years ago. Yeah, where did the last 3 years go? So, yeah, it comes at you fast.
It does.
Well, and you've actually shot a lot of things. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember from our last conversation, you started with GSSF. Is that correct? Was that your first match?
Yeah, I didn't know about really anything else going on at the time. And my range in Tallahassee happened to be hosting one of the largest GSSF matches. They still do. And that was my very first competition. I signed up maybe 3 weeks before it. Like, I found the pistol team in college. I had a Glock and I saw GSSF there at the range and I signed up, texting my dad, and he was like, huh? Like, already? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I've got the 17 and it's stock and I'm excited. And so it just happened to be like there and just a good opportunity. I didn't really know about any other shooting sports at the time. So
Had you trained at all before that? I mean, I know you grew up shooting a little bit, but
no, what's training?
Yeah,
no,
just jump in.
You don't know what you don't know. It's funny because when I signed up, I didn't even know. I knew the rules from somebody like explaining them to me, but I didn't know that there were actual stages with the paper and the steel and all that stuff. So, and I think at the time too, we may not have even had a plate rack at the range because the range was only about 2 years old. That range is massive now, but I remember they came up too, like when I was coming up and building the land, building the bays, getting the targets. I don't think steel was even an option.
Yeah, it seemed like steel was a lot more rare in the past, or maybe there's ranges that don't allow steel or something like that, but
yeah, for sure.
Interesting. So yeah, so a GSSF match without a plate rack. Interesting.
Yep. Well, they had the plate rack, in the competition, but when you talk about, I don't even think I'd seen a plate rack at the range or anywhere in my life. So I'm like, sure, I'll be shooting at that.
What did you think when you actually did get to the plate rack? Was it intimidating?
Yeah, I absolutely sucked. It was probably the worst shooting I've ever done in my life. And I mean, you can fill a mag all the way up, right? So you only have 6 plates, and I think I loaded 18 rounds, and I swear I probably went through 15 each time. It was low left, it was jerking the trigger, it was anticipating recoil, it was like every single fundamental flaw was absolutely there. Yes.
Nice. But did you have fun?
I did. I wrangled a friend from grad school to go with me. He didn't sign up or felt comfortable really shooting it, but he was there for me. So he came out at the very end of it. One of the range officers let him shoot one of his Glocks and just shoot the plate racks and stuff. And so that was one of those first welcoming too, if I look back at it, of how a range officer took time to let somebody else shoot as well and try their hand at it when it was over, because, that doesn't hurt anything. So it's cool thinking back how the community is.
Yeah, that is a really good introduction to the shooting community. And I don't know, I see that a lot. There was definitely some bystanders this last weekend at a match I went to, and it was the same thing. It was like, hey, you want to come out here and shoot? You want to try something? It's a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, we always want to recruit more people. So GSSF was the start, and where did you go from there?
I want to say Steel Challenge was next, and then USPSA was after that. Talon, again, in Tallahassee, just did a really good job with having shooting sports at their facility, and they had the Rifle Association, they had a skeet and trap club, and then a rifle team for RAFSU. So that was like where I got my start, was FSU actually had these shooting teams, and where I tried out and made the team, and that kicked off this competition kind of drive. So we, as like college students, we're still in college, but we were all like practicing Steel Challenge on Fridays. We'd have the match on the weekend. Same with USPSA. Like, we borrowed gear from the range. People would have like inner belts. I think it was Blade Tech double pouch holsters. I remember my first 3-gun there, which is, I know I'll dive into that, but it was like I had pockets for magazine pouches. So yeah, it was more basic level matches until I really found 3-gun and cowboy action, started getting into some more like heavy duty gear, guns, equipment, shooting.
Did you ever load your shotgun shells from your pocket?
Oh yeah. That was the first 3-gun match. I had Iron sights on my AR-15 for 400 yards. Very smart. I didn't have a worked over loading port, didn't have an extension tube, didn't even know what a shotgun caddy was. Like, so it was pouches full of gear and didn't have a rifle mag pouch. Again, back pocket. I shot in jeans, made it work. And then I just had my little double blade tech mag pouch for my Glock and iron sights. Just so gross to think about. And I was so happy. I was that happy shooter. Like, and I recruited, this is what blows my mind is I guess that I've always been this way, is that first match, I had 4 guys come with me. That was 2 of them were in grad school. 2 of them were like my students at the university, and they all signed up to shoot this match. And we all struggled through the whole thing together and had a freaking blast. And I was like, have I always been this recruiter to make people shoot matches? Maybe.
Well, I mean, that's what you do now, right? You show the joy of shooting through podcasts and YouTube and your articles that you write, and get people excited about coming and doing it.
Yeah. So I guess that was already in the works from the very beginning.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So somewhere along the way, it turned into 3Gun is your focus. So why did you choose 3Gun?
Yeah, I'm sure you have the same thing. You shoot a lot, and then when something is really fun, really addictive, I remember like it wasn't a huge prop type match, but we crawled through a tunnel, we shot off of a little Jeep vehicle, just having the different props in 3Gun. Now, I think about some stupid shit I've done. I've climbed 30-foot A-frames and no support, no harness. Like you're literally up there freezing cold. The wood's frozen. I'm like, this was really safe. Shot out of, moving vehicles, shooting at another moving vehicle, which has been so cool. Helicopters, buses. So when you think about the props and having to do it under pressure of time, like there's nothing more addictive to me than that adrenaline dump. And then some of them is just plain scary and plain stupid, but I love it.
Yeah. It's rare that you get those opportunities, like you said, to shoot from a bus or to shoot from a helicopter in like everyday life. But man, it seems like very common in competition space.
100%. Yeah. Now it's, oh yeah, I've seen that. And then I think about through new shooters' eyes. Like recently I had my friend Brooke come and I was like, oh, she's seeing a spinner for the first time, or, oh, she gets to shoot out of 3 different bus windows. How much fun is that to do on the first time? This is hard too.
Yeah. Shoot, I remember when first time I saw like a Texas Star, I was like, oh my goodness, like how do I attack this? And yeah, like you said, then you graduate to the helicopters.
Graduate.
So did you, obviously a learner, you're in college mode, getting into competitive shooting and things like that. So was there instruction built in? Did you take any classes or anything, or did you just wander your way through it and learn by mistakes?
I totally wandered my way through it. I'll lead up to about 2018, I think it was, maybe 2019. But I really didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what GM was. I remember my first time signing up for USPSA that I was so confused that the very first letter and number was GM, and I sign up as GM and show up. They're like, you're not a GM. I was like, I don't even know what that means. No, I wandered my way through it. And a little bit of instruction, though, I will say that is that the range had like police officers founded the range. They still do like simulation training. They have shoot house now. They have so many classes, the Florida permit class. So they had a lot of instructors of just like helping out. That was great. And like I said, borrowing gear and stuff. But then they had like mentors for the pistol team and whatnot that would come out and run us through a USPSA stage. I remember like John Rasmussen, one of the best shooters for HK, he put on a lot of those GSSF matches for probably 6 to 7 years, but he was a high level shooter, still is. And he shot 3Gun, and seeing him, like I saw him shoot a Fort Benning match one time on like YouTube or Instagram, I don't know, in a boat. And that was the time that I saw 3Gun. I was like, this is epic. So it wasn't a ton of instruction. The very first time I actually took a class was me and 3 of my buddies signed up to shoot or to take a private class with Joel Turner Jr., the Army Marksmanship Unit. Still one of the best shooters in the entire freaking world. I don't care about the stats of World Shoot, whatever. Like Joel's amazing. And at the time, like I was still TAC Ops, like Open just happened in 2023. So you have to think about tube gun and no offset red dots, no bipods, right? The harder stuff. And we took a class for 2 days at East Alabama Gun Club, and it was amazing. I learned too, just simple stuff for my body type or how I can move with a shotgun, for example, is not going to be the same for some of these dudes. I couldn't lift and weak hand load from the weight going down the shotgun, but I switched to strong hand. That was one of the big epiphanies I had for that. And to come full circle, shit you not, at the Zoo City Fall Brawl match, I was shooting a stage and the AMU squad was right behind us. And it was just pistol and long range rifle. Cleaned the stage, was really happy with it. It wasn't my best. But I came off the stage and Joel was like, I told the guys, I taught her that. And I was like, compliment. It's a compliment. Because I came such a long way too with just pistol in general too. And everything's clicking now that I was like, cool. That's years later, you know?
Heck yeah. Good for you. Nice. So that first class gives you like an idea of what you don't know. Where did you go from there as far as learning goes?
Yeah.
Did you continue to take classes or did you just stick with Joel?
I ended up like signing up for 1 to 2 classes every year was like my goal. And I ended up taking a Travis Tomasi class, which was super helpful just in the 2011 platform world as well. And he's a good mix of iron sights and red dots and can teach to both. And his focus, which I know we'll talk about in here too, is talking about the mental strategy behind, gosh, he would do like a caloric deficit, a caloric surplus. He talked about sleep management, hydration, all of that cool stuff too. And then he was the first one to really point out like eye speed and how much you really need to train and get better at reading your dot or seeing your sights lift or where calling your shots. So I learned a lot from Travis. I took a Mason Lane class as well up in Kentucky, and same thing, like just a high level shooter, really understands like firearms in general, iron sights, red dot. He moves platforms so well, so smoothly. So that was a really fun class as well that I got to take. And then, oh gosh, and then I took a Frank Proctor class last year. I went to Gunsight, which Gunsight was like taking me back to being a beginner again, because that's a defensive course. And it was something where I was like, oh God, like they don't do like this unload, show clear, hammer down, reholster. And you're in big boy world too, right? You're having to clear concealment garments. I don't know. There was a lot more stress and anxiety to that, which was awesome. So for me, learning has not always been about learning what I'm good at or trying to get better and better. It's also going to suffer in a class of what I suck at and embarrassing myself. And that's been a really good blessing. So my attitude now is 1 to 2 classes every year from someone new, because even if they're saying the same thing, you're going to learn differently from different instructors, or things are going to click better or just make more sense, even though they're said almost the exact same way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice. Like you can actually hear the exact same thing from multiple people, and someone will just add like a little bit of spice that kind of clicks with you personally and changes everything.
It does. Yep. So, and now it's also not just the lessons, but leaning on friends. I said it in a recent podcast too, of high level 3-gunners going up and shooting like a Zoo City. We shot, me and Brooke did a local match, and Matt Martini is one of the best 3-gun shooters out there, like hands down. And it made sense already in my head, like I knew this, but I didn't know it, is we're at the local match. I have this new shotgun, new open shotgun, and I'm there to test it. I'm there to see failure or what's good or whatever, right? And so we get to a stage, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to shoot the shotgun on this because I didn't have like my own mag set up correctly yet, whatever. And he's like, Kenzie, what are you here to work on? Are you here to win a local match? Not really, right? Like, are you here to do your best with your best guns? No. You're here to practice the shotgun, work the shotgun, maybe do the slugs and birds, maybe, have to reload on the clock with a shotgun. You are here to learn and get better at those things. And that's what a local match is for. And I was like, ugh, you're right. So that's what I did.
How'd it go?
A little bit of a train wreck. Actually, what was funny is I had borrowed different shotguns in the year for open before getting my Genesis, and it's AR controls, but when you go from an AK platform to AR, I don't know why, but every time I would pick the gun out of the barrel twice, 2 stages, I would immediately hit the mag release and drop the mag fully loaded. I'm laughing so hard, sorry. But I was like, oh, perfect. And then the clip, I end up having to duct tape the clips to the mags, even though they have strong 3M tape. And I was like, cool. So the whole mag just sheared off, the clip stayed on the belt. And I was like, all right, duct tape. So honestly, it was the best learning experience there could have been, because that's what I need to know before going to the major match, and 0 issues at the major match because of that. I'm like, oh, good call, Matt.
Yep. Matt was right. Mark another one.
Yeah. So that's been the thing too, is just at matches. It sounds bad, but like my practices now are more of major matches, but it's asking questions of why are the pros doing it in that way? Why are the pros using maybe that piece of equipment? what is the stage plan for this, or what's the advantage over shooting a pistol instead of a rifle. Like those kind of things are really valuable to me, where I'm picking things up faster by learning and asking questions from them.
Mm-hmm. And so have you taken that like philosophy of learning from club matches and testing your gear there?
I have shot 0 club matches all year long. And I looked at my schedule recently to do that. And it's because I shot 1 all-day match this year, like one day. Every single other match day was a 2-day or a 3-day format, from PRS to 3Gun. AK Masters was even 2 days. I didn't shoot a single I wasn't home. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
I did do the Sioux City. That counts. So that was the 1 club match. I mean, that's not even near me, but yeah, I drove out there just to get Brooke her feet wet in 3Gun, and then test open for me, and we needed that, both of us.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So is that something you're going to be doing more in the future, is doing club matches, or are you focused more on major matches? What's your schedule look like for this year?
I'll say this right now, and then I bet it'll change a week from now, but 2024 is going to look a little different in my head. I'm being strategic about a couple of things. Number one, I really want to improve 3Gun. So number one for me is 3Gun is going to be my focus. So I've already registered for Battle for the South. I will do Fall Brawl. Whatever 3Gun matches come up, that's my goal. If I can go and shoot another Sioux City and have Brooke, drive over, I stayed with Chris Hutch and his wife, Nicole, then I'm going to go shoot 3Gun. My second priority is still rifle. It is still working on long-range rifle, bipod, bags, tripods, learning all of these different support systems. So I still plan to shoot PRS. I've got 2 builds now for PRS, and I want to do that. And then my third one is really fun. So my first year in 2024 is going to be attending Kalash Bash. I've never gone. I'm so excited. Like, I can't even tell you how excited I am, because I've seen the videos. I've seen the footage. I signed up day 1. I got on the pre-order list. So my priorities are in that order right now. So definitely going to have some cool matches on my schedule. And then thinking about just that cross training is going to help out in other areas. I mean, if you look at who I was as a shooter even 1 year ago, Precision Rifle Series paid off exponentially in 3Gun. That people who have seen the scores from the matches where I've landed, they're like, oh, we get it now. We get how PRS paid off, because it did. It totally changed the rifle game. Wasn't my best. I'm not saying that. There's always gonna be room to improve, but it was a huge training opportunity for me.
Cool. So what is it about that which translates over to 3Gun that's helped you so much? Is it like managing, like you said, the bipods, bags, tripods, all that stuff, since you're shooting open now? Is it positional things? Is it ballistics? What's the big benefit that you see of cross training?
Everything. Precision Rifle Series, even though I understood like using Stray Lock app, I had never really used a Kestrel before, because we weren't really, well, before, I would say the last 2 years, we weren't really shooting that far in 3Gun. We certainly have, but now it's every match is 650, yards out with the 223. So Precision Rifle Series, I got really good with learning ballistic data and how important it is to match that with your environment, with your weather. I'm always now reading wind. I'm the weirdo at 3Gun matches, guys, with the tripod and the binoculars and looking at the wind flags that they had. And literally, I mean, me and one other guy that shoot PRS or DMR matches, or, he shoots a lot at Clinton House, we're literally going back and forth about the wind shifts on the different horizons of these targets and direction of fire versus direction of wind. I mean, there's so much to that PRS paid off in that regard. And the biggest headache of open is, and I saw it at Fall Brawl, is that it's too much gear sometimes. It's actually gear overload. And I didn't want to make fun of anyone there, but I almost, and I don't want to step in and come out of my lane, but I watched someone have 18 bags and have them staged and have a rear bag attached, and that attachment got in the way later. And I was like, it's too much. So for PRS, by the end of the year, I went down to 1 rear bag. I found 1 bag that worked for me. It was perfect for different scenarios. And the bipod height actually was a big lesson, that everyone's body types, sizes are different and everything. So while me learning from someone in PRS and me teaching Brooke like how to shoot 3Gun, I kept learning, because when she would ask me, what do I set this up bipod height? Do not ask me that. that is shooter specific. That is body type specific. You're going to have to work with it to figure it out. So like for PRS, again, that changed my game and understanding what I need and what gear works. And then less is more. So huge learning curve there. Positional was everything too, where like I missed one target out of the bus that I just couldn't get right. And I was okay with that. But the fact that I shot off of the window in the seat, off an A-frame in front of the seat, out of this other window, unsupported, that wasn't daunting to me anymore. And I didn't do it well because of a lot of just different factors of being under the stress, but I slowed down to get hits, or like knew shooting one hit is faster than trying to send 17 rounds at it. And that's one of the most painful things that I can't watch in 3Gun anymore, is when someone goes to war with long range and just doesn't move on or come back, or
I feel attacked here.
Yeah. So it's all the things. Like, that's not a good short answer version, but Precision Rifle Series was a big learning curve in all things open rifle for sure.
Nice. So would you say that's so other than Clash Bash, other than 3Gun, what are you looking forward to most in 2024 here?
I think I'm going to spend more time investing in my own brand with the Reticle Up podcast, like dropping episodes every single week. My goal too is to get at SHOT Show to meet more industry people, maybe write for some more companies for people not really on the pulse of the industry. Is I write a lot for Athlon Outdoors, who just sold. That kind of shift in leadership is very daunting as a writer, someone that's, I wouldn't say in a stable income situation, right? So my focus is going to be a couple things in 2024, and that is definitely in my professional career, investing in my brand and building that brand more around maybe my own blog, again, my podcast, more opportunities. I still want to be one of the best 3-gun shooters out there, not just from like a female standpoint too, but now like just building confidence behind the guns. Got top 20 at Fall Brawl. I want top 15. I want top 10, right? I want to finally be able to be just like a known shooter in all three platforms. So I think that's one of those things. And then again, I've had a little bit of burnout in shooting. So I want to get back to having fun and just enjoying shooting and enjoying the content creation of it too, is that put out a lot of content, make a lot of content. If you guys are following along, I've had a few new videos on my YouTube channel of where I'm doing gear reviews, gun reviews, more than just the podcast. And so I think in 2024, I want to do some more fun videos like that, maybe some more shooting of the ballistic dummy lab torsos, targets, shenanigans. Yeah.
I like it. Well, so you mentioned, building your personal brand. You mentioned going to SHOT Show. So you've been to SHOT Show several times now. Tell me about that first experience at SHOT Show.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that I finally got to go to SHOT Show. SHOT Show was on my list since I think 2015, and I did the marketing for several companies in the industry starting out. Definitely, again, Talon Range, worked with them for 7 years, and I remember them going to SHOT Show and me staying behind, still doing the marketing for the range, the holster company, and all of that, and just being envious of what they got to do. And I know there's a lot of people in the industry that hate SHOT Show, dread SHOT Show, are happy to not go, and I still cannot express how important it is to show up and network and shake hands with people, stop by and say hello. For me, being in the media, it's great because I'm not stuck in a booth. Not that I'd be stuck, but it's something where it's at the freedom to go make people's day of not having to talk about what's new and inventory and when can we get this, right? It's like I'm a different vibe for people of just bringing the excitement, because I am so excited to be in this industry and very happy to do what I get to do. So I think SHOT Show 2019, that was the first year, was a tipping point for me to realize that I can have a career. I am welcome. I am wanted in this industry. There's not a lot of female voices or a lot of really dedicated female shooters out there doing what I'm doing. So that moment in time was just a pivotal point for me to be like, oh, I made it. And now when I get the badge with my name and my company on it, I'm like, I still don't believe it's real. So even to this day, I already got, 2024 SHOT Show coming up, is I still pinch myself that this is reality.
Yeah. It's a good feeling to see your name and your company on a badge like that. I built this.
It is. That's mine. That's me. And I do that little girly thing, but I'm like, holy cow. And it's funny because where my camera is on this podcast is, I might send you a photo later, is all the badges from events that I was at with CanCon, with Athlon, SHOT Show, NRA, and it has my names on them. And that might be something I end up having to create a board for, because it is really monumental to where I've been, what I've done.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, so let's stick on that for a minute. So you say it's monumental for what you've done. So talk about the importance of like getting to events and, going out on a limb and making those connections. Like maybe give us some pointers on like how to and the benefits that you've seen from it.
Yeah, I know for a lot of people it's probably is impossible, but I will say what I've done that's different is I've invested in myself. So even when people think that like I'm paid to do all the things that I do, that's not correct at all. I pay for my flight, pay for my food, pay for my hotel, pay for the slot to go there, even NRA, like just investing in myself. So getting to those events and getting FaceTime with people, especially, bless their hearts, the people that see me all over the country, all over from, one end of the country to the next, are like, wow, you show up everywhere. And I was like, yeah, I'm in this. You're not going to get rid of me easily. And I laughed at that, but that just happened from Idaho all the way to CanCon in Savannah, Georgia. I mean, that's a huge gap, right? And saw the same people within a month. And they're like, oh, and I was like, yeah, this is what I like to do. And not just on the event side, but for shooting matches, what people may remember of this, maybe not, but like when I started shooting, I was still in my 20s. There's not a lot of demographic of shooters that can really afford to shoot at a high level in their 20s with ammo, travel, the cost of the, match fees are insane. So I dedicated a lot of time to range officering. But I remember like way back when at Frostproof, I met like Tony from Staccato, and he like ever since then he's always been very complimentary to me of, oh, she's that energy, like she always brings energy, she's so outgoing at places like that. And Hunter's HG Gold, like me showing up and being a range officer and just talking to Brian and then showing up to an RO class, that is actually how I became his marketing director. We've been like working together for years now. If I hadn't been spending time dedicating like all of my energy to doing this and really loving it, I don't know that he would have hired me. So all of these relationships, even with the writing, that was accidentally being at SHOT Show at the right time, right place at the outdoor range day where someone stopped me and mentioned to an editor, hey, you should talk to her. She's a good writer. She's getting into it. She might work out. And that's how that happened. That literally that moment in time is how that happened. And so you can't plan for that. You can't go in, you shouldn't go into an event and say, I'm going here to get this out of it. And if I don't get this out of it, then I quit. It's no, you don't know what's going to come out of it for, could be months, could be years, but it is really about showing up and getting FaceTime with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of folks may say, oh, she got lucky because she was introduced to so-and-so, but you made the luck happen by showing up and being there.
Oh yeah, I love it when I'm lucky and fortunate and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, if only you guys knew I have to hurt myself. I have to pay for myself to get to places. I get stranded a couple times. I miss flights because of flight delays. It is not a glamorous like travel situation unless you drive. And even that's a nightmare. But no, I truly have just been that person that's, okay, I'm going to be relentless. And I'm going to keep going to events, signing up to events, and public, private, it doesn't matter. It's going to be where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And that persistence definitely shows in your output and the things that you've done. And as you said, with your reputation as being the enthusiastic one, that pays off too. You can show up at all the events. And if you're, dour and a bummer and people don't want to hang around you, like that's not creating the luck that you want. So yeah, show up, go to the events, and be happy. I like it. So you've done, a ton of different events all over the country now. You just mentioned CanCon and you mentioned, Idaho. I know a lot of people like to rag on SHOT Show. It's actually very good for a lot of reasons. But what would be, like we've already talked about SHOT Show, what would be your, like a next favorite or a runner-up or an honorable mention event that stands out in your mind?
Oof. I actually was not prepared to answer this. Now I don't know.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm biased. This is not going to be fair. You already know where I'm going with it now, maybe. Is honestly my Gals Day at the range is the most, see, I cheated. But no, it's the most rewarding thing. I won't say just Gals Day, but anytime I go watch something where someone's put boots on the ground, made an event happen, brought people together, is super inspirational and fun. And so that's really tough to do, I think, across the board. And there's a couple of people and influencers and whatever that they've done machine gun shoots, they've done suppressed events for people. Honestly, private event, but going to Selmark Ranch in 2023, I got to night hunt. I got to kill my first hog. I got to write about it. Spoil me, right? But it's something where that one wouldn't have happened without the work I put in, the time I put in, whatever. But yeah, I think Gals Day at the Range is going to be the cheat code there.
I like it. Well, so let's talk about that a little bit more then. Let's sell it. So what is Gals Day at the range for someone who's listening that may not be familiar with it?
Yeah, so this is this idea I had 4 years ago, I guess 5 now because it'll be the 5th year this year, to just get women together on the range where, no offense to the men out there, but no husbands, no boyfriends, no influence or pressure from a guy watching you shoot or what have you, right? It's something where women can just show up. Maybe they bring their own eyewear and their own ear protection, fine. But it's something where they show up and they get to shoot everything that I own. And I'm so sorry for the people in the first year in Florida. I had maybe 15 guns, maybe 10. I don't remember. It's something small, but I brought what I had. And we shot all day long. We had a great time. It was just about camaraderie and stuff. And then fast forward to 2023. Last year we had machine guns, suppressed guns, a whole suppressed bay. We had 20. We got to shoot tannerite. We got to shoot Firebird targets. We got to shoot aerial clays. It was like a no joke all out 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. All you wanted to shoot. Ammo was included with ticket. I had a taco food truck. I had an ice cream truck. We gave away 10 or 12 guns, the suppressor, ammo, like you name it. So what I wanted to do with this event for Gals Day basically is to lower the barriers of entry for people, for females, to come out and learn how to shoot firearms safely in a learning environment. And it's something where I've had 14-year-olds all the way to 65-plus-year-olds come out. And I've seen your grandma shoot a machine gun. This last year I had 2 daughters, and one was a junior shooter. I think they both were, and their mom. The year before that, I had 3 generations of one family there. So for me to see that is pretty emotional and a big high that I can live off of for the whole year. So 2024, look for Gals Day at the range. It's usually Mother's Day Saturday in Eastern Tennessee. Working out details still, but it is an event where it's ticketed, but it's worth every penny when you just have unlimited ammo and get to go home with something. Everyone goes home with a prize.
Oh, that's cool. So what made you start that? I mean, there's a lot of people that have the goal to get more ladies in shooting and stuff, but most people just think of it as like an esoteric idea. Oh, that would be great. But you actually went out and did it.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like of actually just, okay, I'm going to be the one that does this?
Yeah, that was me telling the range what I wanted to do. And I've never met a range that's, no, we don't want women shooters. Everyone's like, yes, we want women shooters. And it was something where it was like, okay, how can I make this super easy where the cost is low? It includes what it needs to include. And I called on friends to help out. And I think there's maybe 10 people the first year, but I picked a date. I said, I'm going to be there. If you want to be there too, this is the price, for the range that I have to pay. And then maybe throw a little bit for ammo or bring your own ammo if you want to shoot more. It was really small, but it's something where for my whole life, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. And so the next year was me inviting those women out again and then inviting new friends. And then they brought their moms, they brought their cousins, they brought their girlfriends too. And it was like an exponential type growth. And after that, it was great. It got out of hand. It spiraled. And it was something where I think more people though, and especially women, right? We've already seen the numbers go up from gun purchases. We can see the data, of course, from all of that of like women are out there buying guns, looking for training and wanting to be out there. And in 2023, it still blew my mind. I had 3 women that had never even pulled the trigger of a gun at this event. And so how intimidating would that be? But because of how I set it up with having dry fire at the very beginning for 30 minutes with no shooting going on, so very calm, having a 22 bay you could start in, going to a suppressed bay, which you could go to next, and then getting onto the handguns. It's something where you can gradually progress to the level that you want to in the day. And I even had one gal who, again, she's 13 or 14, who was too intimidated to shoot the shotguns, but she took a chance and shot the rifles and realized they're not that bad. So for me to even get her on that platform, and then next year, she said, next year, I'm going to shoot shotgun. I'm like, I'll hold you to it, So
nice. Cool. Yeah, that's way cool. I like that a lot. That in college, I think I had like a psychology class, and they said that just random blurb that I always remembered is you teach a mother to read, you teach a whole family. Yeah. And I feel like it's the same way with firearms and shooting. Like you may not create like a whole family full of competitive shooters, but you create a whole family full of people who are not afraid of firearms and understand their use and their usefulness.
100%. I mean, I didn't mention this, but I will, is Malin's one of my good friends that she came to the very first Gals Day. The next day or the next year, she brought her mom out and helped out. And then this And then like she came to the Tennessee one and was an attendee, brought a friend with her. And then the very next year, this past one, she was an RO for the whole shotgun base shooting shotguns. So like for her, she ended up shooting a CQB match with rifles with me. She shot falling steel with my PCC. You know, now has her concealed carry license because of me, took my class, her and her husband, like all of these people are now involved, and she's now teaching the next kind of group of people. She's now taking people to the range. She's now like in love with competitive shooting as well. And so even if it's not family like that, it is a direct thing where I see them bring the next people and pass that on. So if we as a community exponentially just taught one person and that person brought one person and it kept going, you guys, it would be overnight success. And I really mean that. And I really do see that as if we could just be intentional about dragging someone on. And you don't even have to drag them. Just get one out there and they're going to be hooked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. And I've definitely seen that myself. You know, we put on a running gun called the Big Bend Blast and Dash every other year. And the very first match that we did, we had a guy who it was his very first match. And just this last weekend, you know, that was 6 years ago. Just this last weekend, I saw him at a match in Pahrump, Nevada, you know, so he's now traveling and shooting matches around the country. And he told me that he had brought someone that he met from the tactical games into a PCSL match. And you're absolutely right in the story that you told. It's just like it just spreads, you know, you get people enthusiastic about something and they definitely want to tell people about it and want to bring more people in.
100%. Yeah. Exponential growth. Very easy. Yep.
Yeah. I love it. So you get to teach all those things that you've learned over the years in competitive shooting to a whole new generation. So let's talk about some of those things. Let's talk about gun and gear lessons here. So I know that I personally have made a lot of mistakes, and as a guy, you tend to have to make your own mistakes. You don't listen to a lot of people. So I find that when I tell a lot of people the things that I've learned, they may not listen sometimes. So maybe they'll listen to you. So what are some things that you've learned over the years as far as firearms related, gear related things for competition?
Yeah, I think a quick overview real quick and then I'll dive in is number one, run what you've got. That's my number one lesson for anybody listening that wants to get into any sort of competition shooting. Please do not go out and buy stuff. Just run what you got. Number two, you have to learn how to maintain that gear. And that's been a big lesson. Of course, we've all been there, but understanding like how your gear functions. If I'm talking about, you know, mag pouches or whatever, like screws, Loctite, just regular routine maintenance. Same with your gun. That'll be number three is take care of your gun, your optics. I've learned the hard way about neglecting things and getting rust. And I've learned the hard way of not pre-changing springs out, right? Like things that you don't think about on a 6 month or 1,000 rounds or whatever, that's too low. But whatever it looks like for you guys, like checking your gear. And the last thing too is then finally investing in quality gear that you know will work or that other people use that has been tested is something that will save you time and money and energy if you buy once, cry once. So that's my like quick overview. So diving into all of that is 3GunKenzie used to be because the joke was it took 3 guns for me to get through a match. And there were times where that was true. Have you not heard that?
No. I just thought it was a play on 3-gun. That's amazing.
It is. And then everyone took it to be 3GunKenzie because it takes that many guns. I mean, I've been in nationals where I've had optics fly off. I've had don't laugh. I've had gun mags not work. I've literally been on 2 primary guns, backup guns, borrowed guns. You know, I've had my fair share of that. And so that was a big, and now I'm at the point where I don't have these problems. Like I'm very happy. But yeah, so like the gear stuff was a big learning curve for me of figuring out what really truly mattered and what really worked. And so buy once, cry once is something that like I'm going to live by probably for the rest of my life. Is I hate it when someone invests in a really good quality gun and then puts the cheapest scope mount, optic, what have you on the gun, right? They need to be a pair. Similarly, you get the greatest bat stuff and then they put crap ammunition. So there is a formula for you to figure out of all of these things really matter if you want to have all of that elements taken out of it for you to compete well. So the other stuff with that is like changing your magazine springs often and regularly is going to like save you a lot of headache and crying down the road. It sounds dumb, but I'm at the level with open shooting is every single time a mag gets dropped on the ground, especially with my shotgun, I'm cleaning it out with this like real avid cleaner to make sure that even the mud and the dirt doesn't stick. Because at the end of the day, it's not fun to have malfunctions, right? It's not fun to have to I don't know, drop a full mag and then only have one left. So Loctite is your friend. I will publicly, like, I would love to be sponsored by Loctite. Not just that, but if you're going with the red dot optics, which in 2024 is going to be a bigger, I think, jump for a lot of people who haven't made it yet, is having witness marks on anything that you have with screws, with anything tightened down, torqued down. If you lose zero or something shifts or what have you, and you're not checking, those markings on your screws, you learn the hard way about what's been happening to your gun. God, I know too many 3-gunners, and maybe you're one of them, so I don't know, but I will speak to me, that doesn't clean their guns. And I don't clean them super often. I don't clean them every so many rounds. I don't clean them, sorry, for practicing or, I don't know, for shooting videos or whatever, but before a major match, I'm taking out every single what if and excuse of, I should have done this. No, it'll be done. So I just learned the hard way of paying attention to the small stuff that really is going to make a bigger impact, and not overloading yourself too with gear. I know I've said that before, but less is more. I ran the exact same ELS. I looked up the exact same ELS belt since day one with the exact same forks. I've had the same magazine pouches for my 2011s the entire career. Like, I don't need more gear, right? You find what works. Do not touch it. Do not change. Do not tinker. I know I tinker a lot, but once I have stuff set up, it's like almost permanent now. Like, I don't change anything. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting point about the ELS belt. I was talking about that with a friend recently. I've had mine, the exact same one, since I bought a dedicated 3-gun belt as well. Yep. And I want to say that's 8 years ago, maybe 9 or something like that. Yeah. But that seemed like such a big expense at the time. And when you aggregate that over like the number of matches I've shot and the number of years I've had it, I should have done that a lot sooner.
Yes. I run it now. If I had PCSL near me, I totally would. I would love that. I've run it in 3-gun. I've run it CQB matches, falling steel matches. I run it with my PCC. There's the modularity for it. And if you are going to go into an action shooting sport type competition, honestly, everyone is running ELS to be able to share gear, change over the forks, swap stuff out. And so, yeah, that again, looking at that daunting expense, guys, like, it's not going to be fun to fight your belt rigidity. It's not going to be fun to fight poor mag pouches when your mags are falling out. It's just not a pleasurable experience. And guys, I've been through it. And this will just be a side little note, and I'm just going to say it and leave it, is run a hooded holster. If you're going to do action shooting sports, please ask me how I know. It involves a DQ. Run a hooded holster. And the end. Which we've talked about. But just for people listening to only this episode, hooded holster. Good retention. Absolutely
agree with that one. Yeah. And to pile on to what you're saying, like so many people use the ELS in 3-gun, 2-gun, et cetera, that if you are new, that's the right thing to get, because you can borrow gear and you can test out gear and you can, see if it works for you before you make those purchases. I did that for a long time. I haven't had a need to recently. Actually, I take that back. I just borrowed one this weekend for the front mag pouch, which I didn't realize I needed, this sideways rifle magazine. Yes. So yeah, that's wonderful advice, is get the ELS, borrow the gear. And Kenzie, what's your thoughts on like testing gear on the clock?
The biggest thing, and I do as I say, not as I do, is go run whatever gear you want to run in a local match before showing up and doing it at a major match, because you're spending so much time, money, and effort for a major match. We're talking thousands of dollars. So that local match is going to be the key place for you to figure out your gear. And again, like we've already talked about it, is when I shot that local Zoo City match, I didn't really know my shotgun gear yet. I was learning the clips. I was learning about where they're going to hang. I was learning about how to pull them off the belt and load them. So all of that was a test to, I need the clips higher. I need them duct taped. I need this one to go in this position. I actually had to move my ELS like fork adapters, not the fork, but the other ones, to spread it out so the clips hung a little bit more securely. So learning from a local match is where you're going to test your gun, your gear, your ammo, your optic. You're going to find out what works and what doesn't work so fast. So do that. And there's nothing like the pressure of the timer. You can go out and practice and train and all of that, but until, I'm telling you, shit goes wrong when you get to a match. That is when it comes out. Yeah. And if you haven't done it, also I'll say that if you haven't done it in rain, in mud, in whatever different environments, if you've only done it in beautiful sunshiny day, guess what, guys? That's not a test of your gear. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So go run it in different environments and you'll find out that, oh, I need to clean my mags out, or, oh, this optic needs to be covered in some way with a sunshade, whatever, right? Like, you learn that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The match environment is the best way to learn what works and what doesn't, that I've found. And that goes along with, what you want to get out of a match. So you have different purposes for different matches of, like you said, you want to go to a major match and you want to compete and you want to do the best you can, but maybe that club match is where you're trying stuff out.
Yeah, a GM level shooter did say this to me in USPSA, which made sense. Again, learning so much is go to a local match, and if you're just shooting pistol, say for USPSA, there's two kind of strategies that he runs. Number one, he will only shoot a match to shoot as fast as possible, meaning taking as many no shoots, as many mics, as many penalties. He's actually trying to see if he can increase his movement speed and his eye speed and acquiring sights and what have you. So he's pushing for speed the whole match. Then the second thing he'll do is he'll go to another match for USPSA, again, another local, and now he's only shooting alphas. He's only shooting points. He's seeing his dot. He's seeing where it lifts. He's calling shots, but he's looking at a specific point on the targets to only shoot the 5-point alphas. So that eye-opening experience was people that, are at the match are not going to understand why you're doing it the way you're doing it. Stick to your plan. Figure out what you're trying to do. If the next match, maybe you're trying to shoot a major match speed, which is like maybe 80% capacity of what you're capable of to be consistent. So you're trying to have speed, have accuracy, but you're not trying to go all out. So you got to figure out what the purpose is for that. And that was a huge wake up call for me of, oh, that makes sense. That's a cool way to test things. I never even thought to do that,
Yeah, there can be different goals for a match, right?
Yeah.
So how do you decide for yourself what your goal is for a match?
Yeah. So again, going back to diving into precision rifle series, my goal was honestly to learn open a little bit for sure. And then honestly, it was learning fundamentals of how to shoot a rifle at distance, how to understand how you collect that ballistic data from a chronograph to a Kestrel, and then putting it onto a data card. How am I reading wind? And I can't read wind. I'm not Pocahontas, thought I was. I'm using precision rifle to collect, I won't even say data, but collect knowledge for the rifle platform and 3-gun. And my pro, like Ryan Hay, knew that for me, that 2023 was about learning rifle. If I'm doing AK, honestly, like setting my goal last year for the last match of the year was AK Winter Motherland and then shooting like the Tar Heel carbine match. Those two matches for me was going to try to win the match. Now, I know going in my competition, and so like realistic, right? I always say, okay, this would be my goal. Sure, that'd be cute. But realistically, top 3 for me is possible. And so that was my goal for that. Clash Bash this year, dude, I'm there to rip it, grip it, have fun, get content, like totally different vibe. Like I've never been, I don't know the layout, I don't know the stages, I don't know the match director, I don't know what that is. And I truly believe this, Dave, with my whole heart, is that not GMs, I'll speak to me. I can't perform at a super high level without going to a match at least once. Like when I went to my first Sioux City 3-gun match, I was like, what the this target is insane. There's a million pistol shots. These guys want you to shoot long range like a precision rifle series shooter, right? Like they have 6 stages of long range. So my first time going to the environment and seeing the stages was learning, okay? Captured. Fast forward to 2023, I know what to expect. I know there will be a shotgun jungle run. I know there will be 4 to 5 stages of long range. I know that they're going to have you shooting off of XYZ. And I was very calm going into that match and did really well because I didn't realize I had all that prior knowledge of exactly what to expect from Sioux City. So again, AK match, dude, AK Masters or Clash Bash and AK Masters and all of those are going to be fun vibes. Like I'm still wanting to be competitive, but it's something where let's get our AK on, right? Let's have some fun. That's not the answer you're looking for, probably from a competitive shooting standpoint, right? Yeah, that's where I look into it. And, last year I shot IDPA for the first time with a pistol for the second time ever in my career. And it's not something that I am eager to do or wanted to do, but I was very excited of the outcome. I ended up placing 8th in my division, winning my classification, winning high lady, all the things that I did not expect that. I was there to be like, this is going to hurt. I don't know the rules. I still don't understand how to engage targets from lines and boxes. Dude, I can't even. And so maybe I'll go do that again because that forced the accuracy. You only have 10 rounds in my division, right? You only have 10 rounds. You cannot make up shots, dude. There's nothing like pulling a Charlie or whatever in IDPA or down one and being like, oh, I can't make up that shot. I have to leave it and moving on. So it just depends on the match for me of what I'm going to do. But dude, IDPA was a little bit painful. Like I was mad half the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Clash Bash should be completely different. That's one of those matches where you know you're going to have a good time.
Yeah. Frelick said last year at AK Masters that he would do matching tracksuits of IWI with all of us. And so I was like, Jeremy and like Brian with Hunter's HD Gold, I was like, what if we got like half gold, half ruby, IWI logos? Dude, I'm wearing them. I'm in.
That's perfect. Yeah, the first year I shot Red October Kalashnikov Championship, we dressed like 90s gangbangers, with like rags and flannels and stuff for the first day. And the next day we did tracksuits. And that gives you so much freedom to just have a good time,
Yes. No, I mean, that's where those memories are made that you'll never forget. So I'm looking forward to more, I would say, range shenanigans for sure. Yeah.
And I think that goes into what you were talking about earlier, like your goals for the match. There's matches where, okay, our goal is to maximize the amount of fun, or my goal is to learn as much as I can from Ryan, my pro, Ryan Hay, or my goal is to, demolish everyone's hopes and dreams and, take the gold. So yeah, there's different goals for every match, and it's fun to get to shoot a variety of matches.
Yeah. So I love it. I'm not bored.
Good. All right. So let's talk about like preparation. So do you feel like you prepare enough for a match? Do you feel like you can prepare enough for a match? And then this kind of goes into what you were talking about, is like, how do you prepare for a match if you've never shot it before? It's simple to go, okay, I've shot this match 3 years in a row. I know where the range is. I know where the McDonald's is next door. I know where the hotel is going to be. But when you go to a new match, there's so much newness. Like, how do you prepare for that?
Yeah. I don't think anyone, maybe I'll just speak to me again. I don't think I've ever over prepared enough, or like you could always do more. But that's something I don't beat myself up about, is if I'm getting off of a plane and I've done this and driven straight to a match out of town, then that's the best I can do with that scenario. But there were times, like especially for 3Gun, that I went out for the last one and I made sure that my slugs were zeroed with my EOTech. I made sure that my Triticon was zeroed. I made sure that my pistol was zeroed. It's even though that nothing's changed, nothing's been shifted, what have you. It's like you need to go out and just confirm zero and then check zero at 300 yards or what have you. So it depends on the match. Same thing with going into the AK matches. Like I have 2 red dots. You never know what could change there between traveling and whatnot. So just going and checking zeros on those are really great. And maybe re-chronographing if you need that data. And I think that's where Precision Rifle Series, honestly, they do the best job at warming a shooter up to the environment. And I wish all kind of matches maybe not did a full day, but what PRS does is they always have a tune-up day. The day before a match, you can come in, you can chronograph, you can zero. They have zero boards, like tons of targets. And then they have targets, depending on the facility, out to 1,000 yards. So you can true your data out to the 1,000 yards. And some of the best ranges that I've been to last year, they had the truing bars where it's not like super tall. It's no, if you miss, like you're missing really small. And that's what you want. You want to find the smallest targets out there to confirm data. And so that first day for PRS, I had never been to any of those ranges where any of these matches were held. I was in Mississippi, I was in Oklahoma, I was at the other side of Tennessee. But that actually gave me a more of a welcoming thing of it's dumb. Where am I parking? Where are the bathrooms? Where's water? Basic stuff, though, really does not freak me out, but it is something to get used to. And so preparing your guns is important. Cleaning your guns, checking your gear, and making sure you have a packing list. I don't know if you do this, you probably do, but I have a packing list now down to as silly as make sure you pack your firearm, make sure you pack the ammo. Like I even have like hand warmers on there, but it just seriously like making a list, checking it twice like Santa Claus. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a downloadable checklist that I've given out for years, and I've even seen people with it at matches and stuff, and I actually use it myself every single time. And it's because I made that list and give it out because I've been that guy that forgot stuff, and it happens. But to your point, like the knowing where the bathrooms are, as an example, and where to park and stuff like that, those are unclosed loops that are taking up space in your brain
Yeah.
and not allowing you to concentrate on what you need to do when you're at a match.
Yeah. And
So
I'm sure you do this too. Is any opportunity you get to walk stages, you need to walk stages I mean, again, I go back to 3Gun because that's my thing, but 3Gun, the day I get there, I spend 4 to 5 hours walking every single stage that I will see for the 3 days or 2 days. The next day, I always go rewalk the stages I'll see the next day. And then the next day, do the same thing. And getting that memory is really important. PRS, certain matches, like you have to be done at the range and then they finally give you your range book. But like a way to prepare that I always do the night before, and Ryan taught me this, was we go through all the stages, we have our little data cards, we write down the target distance, and we're not doing mills or anything yet because that's going to shift with wind and environment day of. And the other stuff too that makes me so calm now, Dave, is always loading every single magazine for every stage that I can before, the night before, the week before, whatever, right? So Brooke and I, at the last 3Gun match, I taught her this too, is we sat on my tailgate the night before, and for whatever stages we would shoot, we would load the long range D60, we would load the pistol magazines to full capacity, we would just basically load everything up, so when we show up to the stage, and this kind of bugs me, is that this part of being a squad mate too, but we would make sure that we have everything prepared. So we sleep at night. We're not panicking in the morning. We just show up. We already have our gear labeled. It's already ready to go. And the biggest thing that just gave me a headache is that when we have hammer down, I end up resetting several stages by myself or with Brooke or what have you, because everyone was still loading their magazines. Like they show up to the range late. It's not funny. They're loading their mags. They're not prepared to shoot and they don't know who's up, whatever. And I'm like, I mean, I was a little frustrated where I was like, why are we loading mags 10 minutes before hammer down? Like, and Brooke and I were still the first people to the range. Like, we beat the range officers to the range. Not saying you have to do that, right? But we were there early. We were there walking. We were there, like, prepared. We had our gear out. And people don't do this enough. But when you get to the range, first thing you should do is take all of your guns out, especially for those optics, because they're going to adjust to temperature, humidity, all of that. And so many people don't do that. And then they end up with issues. And I'm like, well, there you go. Pro tip.
Yeah, we don't deal with that in the West. It's too dry. But yeah, when first time I went and shot in Kentucky, I was like, what is this film on my scope? Why can't I see through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So you talked about sleeping. So what are the other things that you do in between, say, your walkthrough day and your match day?
I was a little bit of I'll say both Brooke and I were a little bit of losers. Not really, but we prioritized sleep, honestly, for fall brawl. And I wasn't really feeling good, but I'm a grandma through and through. You can ask Ryan, hey, the whole year I was like, bro, I'm not going out partying. I'm not drinking. You could have a drink, whatever. I'm not going to manage you. You're an adult. But he was like, wow, being, you're pro for your amateur and knowing that we're sharing guns and gear and teaming up together and stuff, he would make it a priority to do what I did. So he would go to bed earlier. He would, call it a night. He's not out drinking. We got 10 hours of sleep or whatever it would be. Like, people are not used to that, I think, and that's fine. 3Gun.
Yeah.
I won't name names, but kudos to the dudes that can go out drinking, partying, smoking, what have you, the night before, get in at 3 a.m., wake up at 7 and go shoot. And I'm like, I'm not built that way. I am a grandma and I don't care. So I prioritize sleep, food for sure, caloric probably surplus always, which is clear. But I make sure like I'm hydrating 2 days before. So if I know, especially if it's summertime, dude, like I'm drinking extra water and doing hydration packs and stuff days in advance. If you're trying to hydrate day of, it's too late. There's a lot of stuff that people just don't do. And then forcing yourself to eat throughout the day, even when it's disgustingly hot, you feel like crap, right? Like having some sort of protein on hand is really helpful. I eat the crap out of pickles, clearly. But in all seriousness, is like preparedness also has to do with your mind, your body, your health, what's going on during, before, and after the match too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know a lot of people, just think you like yank a trigger at a target and stuff like that, but it truly is an athletic event. Like, even if it's just GSSF where you're not moving like or you're not moving from the box, the shooting area, you're still using your brain, and your brain runs on water and electrolytes and all that stuff, sugar. So you do actually need to sleep, get your nutrition and stuff like that locked away. Also, pickles. Funny story. So the pickle thing, is that for hydration or is that just you're weird? What's the deal
I'm
there?
just weird. I love
You're
pickles.
just weird?
I've always loved pickles. I have an obsession with all the things. I'm looking at this and over the top, I'll probably grab them. My friend made me. So I have custom pickle range flags with pickles. And I might use these at the next match, and there's gonna be no mistaking whose these are. No, but I really do have a obsession with the deliciousness of pickles. So there you go.
Are those bedazzled?
They're like sparkly jeweled.
Oh my God, they
They
are.
belong in Christmas trees. I think these are like the things that they stick in.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So aside from, sleep, hydration, nutrition, stuff like that, is there anything else you do for self-care that helps you in the match environment?
I think more about in between matches and afterwards. And again, I understand like budgets, right? So not everybody's gonna be able to do this, but I take good care, maybe not eating wise, right? Or what have you, but I do try to do cryotherapy. I started doing that recently, and it's been really eye-opening about the health benefits to that. And I do massages. I go in and I see a chiropractor, Epsom salt baths, anything I can do for my body in terms of movement. It sounds silly, but like even my massage place does like stretching because I'm not a bendable human being. And where that actually came from too was from the backpacking, the hiking side of things. So I've done Mount LeConte and stuff. And I remember I have a great masseuse that I go to. I think that's what they're called. But she knows my lifestyle of being on the range, carrying a lot of gear, knowing that the weight's around my belt, sitting in my car driving, dude. Like when I do 20-hour drives, it's a toll on the body. So for me, it's a lot of in between self-care in terms of that. And I see all those people try to move a lot. And honestly, people don't realize what shooting can do for you. And I understand like Steel Challenge and GSSF. Again, it might be a lot of standing or waiting or sitting, but that's why I like the action shooting sports is that in the last 3-gun match I did, I don't know, I think it was 9 to 13 miles a day in resetting, walking, shooting, which I love. That is a total exercise that I didn't even have to think about because I'm going to do it anyways. So finding those things that like just are exercise or good for you that you enjoy is something that's really helpful.
Yeah, I agree. And the miles covered is something not a lot of people think about. And you're constantly doing like single leg deadlifts, to bend over, pick up steel and stuff like that. Yeah. And then you have to be ready at a moment's notice to run your best and move your best and plant your feet and all that stuff. So got to stay up on that.
Yeah, it's no joke. And I love that about it. So I just did a 40-mile weekend shooting 3-gun.
Yeah. Look at me. Got my steps in today.
And then the rest are just sedentary in between now.
Yeah, exactly. 20-hour drives. Yeah. It's balance.
Yeah.
So you talked about, being on the stage first and being the first to reset because you did, you stuffed your mags and stuff like that. But there's a lot that goes into being on a squad. And that's something that we rarely talk about. You never see videos of a squad resetting and stuff, right? It's just like the fastest pistol run that you did. You never show, oh, here's where I pasted all those targets downrange. So what are the things that go into being a good squad mate?
In my 10 years of shooting competitions from every single shooting sport out there, I can name my favorite squads, which are the most hardworking people, the most fun and energetic, that are enjoying the reset, because you're going to be resetting 99% of the time, shooting for 1%. And so you have to make it a part of your shooting career is wanting to reset and be a good squad mate. And then I've been on the flip side of that. I have been on some squads that have been absolutely like teeth pulling miserable, that like honestly was a good thing for me, because I think what I like about squatting with different people is learning people's character. And so an unpopular opinion is I absolutely hate when it's RO reset matches. I will not shoot RO reset matches because ROs are already volunteers. They're already losing money. I don't care what you say. Even if they're paid well, they're not. Their gas, their hotel, their food, it adds up. Their time, 4 or 5 days of this, no way. Their match suffers because they're having to shoot in a shorter period of time. And these ROs are the people keeping the shooting sports going. So I don't care if they get a chance to win a gun, right? That's a million ROs and then one gun. And then your match fee is more expensive. Okay, I've downed on that. But fun mate, you actually learn people's character. Of the highest level competitive shooter I've seen has been the worst squad mate. I've seen the lowest level competitor or whatever be the best squad mate. And so all of that to say is like shooting sport is going to be about being a good resetter, being someone who's positive and upbeat, someone who's also not dragging their feet when it's their turn to shoot or when they're on deck. That's a big frustration point for me. Is I've had people at a major 2-day level match show up to shoot 5 minutes before hammer down, range is hot, and I'm like, why are we waiting on them to read the stage brief? No offense, but screw them. They're in the parking lot. I don't really care. We move on. I've also seen people like not ready to shoot in the shooting order. And I'll say this, and I'll speak to this with having a newer shooter in 3 gun with Brooke too, is like, when it's her turn to go first, she goes first. Everybody needs to be prepared to be that first shooter, or, you know, it sucks. My name is always towards the top. I'm sure yours is too. That's the name of the game, is like getting used to those dynamics of be ready when it's your turn, be ready on deck, what have you. And then do not spend 17 hours go getting your stuff ready for the next stage, or leaving your squad to go to the next stage to look at it when we're not done resetting. And that's been just a lot of lessons that people don't talk about, is like the unfun stuff. But I'm a pro resetter, and I am like going to run you down to reset, and I have fun with it. Like, you got to make it fun.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't make resetting fun, then it becomes like the worst part of shooting, and it's the biggest part of shooting, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I take that as like a badge of honor, just to be like out there hardworking. And I think if you get to that point where you can't or you don't want to, then you also can't shoot. That's just the deal.
Do you have a list?
A list of people I don't want to squad with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. This is going to sound bad, but I mean, it's true. It's okay. If my goal for a match, right, and I've already mentioned you several goals, if my goal for a match is to have a really good time and have a fun time, and if I see a squad and I'm stuck on it and I'm like, okay, I know, and I'm trying not to have a poor attitude of it, but I just know how some shooters are, where I know that I'm not going to have fun. And then people are like, well, why wouldn't you want to go to that? And it's okay. If I'm spending $1,000 to go with all the stuff involved, if I'm going out there to have fun and then I'm not on a fun squad, it's really hard for me to want to not burn out. It's really hard for me to want to go to the next match. And so
yeah.
I don't dread them. I try to make the most of them, but there has been a time too where recently where I'll start calling people out, and I know people don't love that, but it's, hey bud, can we get some help over here? And one of the shooters was like, well, I helped over here. I was like, I did too. I pasted while you picked steel up, but guess what? We have a whole other bay with shotgun and spinners and no shoots and all this stuff. Like, it's not done till it's done. So it's just something where it blows my mind. But yeah, there are people that like, ugh, I don't want to do it. It's not fun. And then it's not a good time. And so if it's not a good time, I really just, it's hard to want to keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. But when you do find a good squad and you do have those good squad mates, everything goes smoothly. You follow the schedule. You have your time to prepare because your squad mates are taking care of what they need to do. Yep. And so it really is like I don't know. It really does matter how much hustle and how much resetting you have on your squad. Like this past weekend, we had a fantastic squad, and we made up a 2-hour delay just because our guys were on it, and it was great to be a part of. But I've definitely been on those squads before where, you know, I'm passing out pasters to people like, here, you could use this. Go put that on that target. Try to be nice.
My favorites when everyone was moving on to the next stage, like driving, you know, bay to bay, and I'm like handing out red and orange and white and paint for everyone. I'm like, here we go. Like, we're all gonna have fun. No, but yeah, I think that squad stuff, like I have some really fantastic squads that I will literally be buried with some of those squad photos, right? Like I can just tell you off some of the hands of those squad 10, squad 6, whatever it was, of like, you'll never get a repeat of that too, by the way. You'll never be able to have those same people, same times, whatever. So I really cherish those memories of this was something I will never forget.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah.
That's a good thing. Like you'll never recreate those. And it's what I always tell people is like, these are the good old days. Like we are currently living the good old days. Like they're going to tell stories about what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Absolutely. So another part of being a good squad mate is, you know, taking video for your other squad mates. And I've found a wide variety in capabilities.
I remember our last podcast, we were talking offline of the video of your ass that you had the whole time.
Well, I wasn't going to mention that, but yeah.
I have to. A wide variety. Keep going.
I did, yeah, for the listeners at home, shall not be seen, but I did send a special cut of a match video to Kenzie. Hey, does this look weird to you? Do you notice a theme here? But yeah, so it's tough because like you're asking a favor and you know that like these people are doing their best to take video. And I also know that I live in an environment where video matters. I have to pay attention to that thing. If I was to do whatever that person's job is, I would probably do a bad job at it. So I understand like my expectations are a little bit different and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I also feel like, hey, you've been to a match before, right? Like I know because I've shot with you for 10 years now. Like, why are you shooting my back with the camera? But so I did not intend to go there, but you can take that. You can take my experience and learn from it if you want. But what are some like best practices if you're maybe, you know, giving someone like a quick brief on how to shoot video? Do you have any pointers that you give to people?
Oh my God, yeah. So Brooke knows Brooke knows this too. So bless her heart, I move a little bit faster than her. And it was funny because by the time we were at like some of the end of the matches, our stages, I was like, you know what? And she's, yep. And before I even had to talk, I'm going to give someone who's going to run and keep up with me because that's a lot of it too. It's a lot of stage and I get that. And she's like, yeah, that's not going to be me. I was like, you know what? Appreciate it. No.
Yeah.
Mike Perez,
know your limits.
It's true. Mike Perez, shout out to him because he did a good job, I do a brief overview for sure because I'm always like vertical now because of reels. And I hate that because it ruins it for long form, but whatever. But then talking about if we're going to be on the right side with a pistol, if that's going to be the pistol draw, right? So I want to see that movement and that kind of coolness. And then biggest freaking lesson I can give you to the videographer, make sure they know your stage plan. Okay. Preach your stage plan to them. And this should be probably a buddy or someone who knows your movement, your style. And so that's a big plan, even for the RO. But you're going to need to know the angles, the direction, what gun you're going with, how you're going to come in and out of something. So yeah, I give a little bit of overview of, hey, this is my plan. This is what I really want to get. And then what people don't know, pro tip, if you have an iPhone, don't know about you Android, probably the same thing. But when you hit video on a red button and it's going, there's a little white circle that pops up that if you tap it, it takes photos while you're shooting. And those photos are different than you taking a screenshot of a video. It's a higher quality by doing it that way. And I remember a guy got off a stage, an older gentleman. He was like, came to me later. He's like, you know, you only took photos, right? I was like, hey, unlock your phone. And I was like, see that you have 40 photos and a video, and his jaw dropped. And I was like gave him a little wink, and I was like, I get paid to do this. So yeah, it depends on what I know can be captured too, because there was 2 stages at Fall Brawl that I really didn't want anyone following me anyways, because of not just the danger, but the moving of the platforms and whatnot would throw off some of that. My desire to get video is not higher than my desire to be able to shoot the target. So I use a first person hat camera on everything I do, no matter what, even if it looks dorky, because it's been awesome for footage. Awesome to see. Actually, I've had a couple malfunctions that make sense now to me, and just getting a different point of view of what I'm doing and seeing versus what someone else is seeing of like my footwork. Like I still want the big picture of why did I entry that way? Why did I come up that slow? Why did I not, do X, Y, Z? So yeah, I try to run through like the stage plan, angles, the goal, and then make sure you know the settings of vertical. And here's this. Yeah.
Yeah. That pro tip of the photo is a really good one. Yeah. I took video for one of my squad mates this last weekend. And when he was looking through it, he's like, who took these photos? I was like, I did, dude. Remember I took the video? These are great. I'm like, yeah. Now hold my camera.
Yeah, try do it for me now.
Yeah, exactly. So I go a little bit different. So I actually tell people film horizontal like an adult, not vertical like a kid. And the reason is because I can always cut it vertical, but I can't cut it back to horizontal. So then, like I create long form and short form content. And so I'll use the cut to make that short form content. But for me, the goal is the long form. So that's the way I do it. So it's interesting to hear your method there.
Yeah, I'm spending more time on Instagram right now than you are on. Like you're spending more on YouTube than I am on YouTube. So it sucks playing that game. Why can't they work with both?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and that's the best way I found was the cut. It's not perfect to cut it and then it goes lower quality, but YouTube and Meta YouTube Reels Shorts. There we go. Yeah. Thank you. YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. They don't do full quality anyway, so I feel like that's an okay compromise. So big question. when you're shooting video, shoot the targets or shoot the shooter?
You have to get both. You have to be that good. I am happy sometimes when it's the shooter, I think, is like the cooler part. But if I can tell them, like, hey, angles, if I'm going to back out of a position, right, you can get the steel falling or at least see that they're falling down. That's cool. And that's what I see, like the shotgun, like the video footage that I had third person, like they did a good job of getting, like, the clay got down, this got down, this is down.
There you
whatever.
go.
The first person is the only one that's going to ever be able to pick up the rifle. That's the crappy part of, like, long range and stuff, unless you have a rifle scope camera and stuff. But yeah, that's my 2 cents there, is get both. But the shooter is probably way cooler than the targets.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten the video where it's like you, then the target, you, then the target? You're not cutting that faster than the shots getting there, bro. Like, just choose one.
Yeah, no, I can't do that one. Yeah, it's bad.
I love it. But, you know, again, I live in that environment, so I try to take a deep breath and just, okay, well, next time I'll do a better job of letting people know. So
good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So then with your match footage, you know, we talked about our use is content creation, vertical, long form, short form, etc. What would, like, the typical person use match footage for? Should everybody video, or is this like you only do it if you're starting an Instagram account or something?
Yeah, so the third person point of view videos are going to be where you're going to get the most gains as a new shooter, learning what you're doing incorrect. First person, you're really not going to understand what you're seeing without it, like, seeing the sights. So backing up. Third person point of view is going to show you a couple things. It's definitely going to show you your, like, draw speed. It'll show you your entries and your exit positions. It'll show whether or not you struggled with a reload, depending on the angle, right? Being able to see what was the hang up there and seeing how fast you get back on target. If you're transitioning between targets, you can see if you're, like, lackadaisical between those. And so the third person point of view was something that I cracked up at, and this goes back to the Joel Turner class, is that my MO with any entry box, whatever, used to be to physically hop like a bunny into my final position. And I'm not kidding. There's a video of Joel in the class that my friend took of me moving from one box to the other, and I'd be super aggressive, super low, and then I'm entering, and you see me literally do a bunny hop into the box, and I didn't even know it, right? I didn't even register, but that was my, like, end spot, and he literally put his hand on his knees, like, exhausted. That was cute, but that's not it. Right? So third person point of view is where you're going to learn the most about your footwork, your, like, if you're coming in a position, is the gun on the ground? Is the gun already up on target? Are you triggering the gun before you're even, like, perfectly, you know, lined up to the target? Are you searching for the target? If you're standing in a position for too long searching for the target, like, I'm just going to harp basically that if you can get someone a video in third person, that is going to be your number one learning source of what you're doing wrong. Now, first person for me was something where I learned a lot about, like, how long it took me to control my breathing. And I noticed that how long it took me to get the rifle onto the first target, for example. So, like, that delay in me acquiring my scope, getting it set up into the very first position and getting the first round off was a little bit too long to me, even though it didn't feel that way. So I was like, okay, I need to pick up acquiring my sights and getting on target super fast. It's funny when you try to change a position or change, like, a stage plan in the middle of the stage, that you can see your hesitation on a first person, like, point of view of, oh, I literally had my head cam focused over to the right when I knew my next target was on the left, right? I can use that footage in a way to be able to understand where my head is moving and what I'm looking for versus having a game plan. And where I saw that a lot as, like, more of a newer shooter wearing one of those was just when I used to quad load, I would be looking up, like, trying to find the targets, you know, while quad loading, instead of having a game plan. That meant I didn't know where the targets were. I didn't have a stage plan. I was more of, like, hunting and pecking. No. The only thing I wish it did, and nothing is going to do it, is give you a realistic sense of what your optic or what your iron sights or what have you are doing. The only person, pro tip, the only person that can see your sights and is telling you what's happening is yourself. Nobody can watch your footage and see what you saw. Nobody is ever going to be able to understand what was going through your brain or what you were seeing from target to sight. So that's something a camera is never going to be able to really pick up for you, but it is something that first person is really going to help if you start to get lost or whatever.
So once you've reviewed your footage from a match, what do you do with it then?
Oh boy, Kenzie makes a game plan. And so the last game plan for me was slug targets, and still will be slug targets. I only missed one slug target the last match, but I had several slug targets that made multiple shots for me to make up. And so for me, it's really just understanding, like, if I'm swinging, if it was never the first one, it was always the second target or the third target. It's okay, I'm over swinging in my match footage. I'm not taking time to, if I'm like hit and then I get cocky and I'm like miss, hit, cool. Also, I learned that Ariel Clays and I are not friends. So don't know why, but I think this was also part of learning a new platform, is that I'm shooting a red dot. I'm shooting something too where the Clays, for example, in the shotgun jungle run last, was maybe 7 yards away when they flew up. And so now, you know, this height over bore with an 18-inch barrel with a mod choke. And you have to do that with a Clay that's in the air. So, and I didn't process that enough. And so I missed, I think, probably 5 or 6 Clays the whole match out of 10 stages. And so taking that match footage of like, why was I missing? Or why was I nowhere near this target? Or how far were those targets to even my first person like camera of like, oh, I need to figure out height over bore close targets. Again, the rifle work is something that like I could see in my third person point of view of, I literally said it on camera, is I shot around, but it was good, is that I processed it so fast, I said out loud, wrong target. And so I can actually listen to my first person camera that didn't pick it up on my phone, and I know that I was talking to myself of I knew I was on the wrong target. Okay, now how do I fix that in the next match? So all of that match footage can be helpful if you actually review it for what you need to do to improve.
So then with that game plan, what do you do from there?
I need to go practice. And I am about to invest actually in a lot of those, I think they're MGM, the poppers that throw just the little like loop-de-loops, lollipops, whatever they're called.
Loop-de-loop lollipops?
Loop-de-loop lollipops. What are the ones that just pop up and go left or right?
Pop up and go left or right? Are you talking about pop up the Clays?
Yeah, like they have the clay.
Oh, toasters.
Toasters, see? Yeah. That's why I keep you around. I have no idea.
Loop-de-loop is a much better thing. That sounds cool.
No, and I'm no joke going to be investing in shotgun targets and doing more of those, and then doing a few more no shoots with the steel, and even watching some of the footage from Shotgun World Shoot was fun to watch the tightness in between everything, and that always comes down to knowing your choke and stuff. So I really am going to dedicate more time to shotgun because I've learned a little bit more with my rifle. I've gotten the pistol down like just as good as it can right now. But for me, okay, I got to go back to learning a new platform because I am starting over with this new shotgun.
Yeah.
It's probably going to take me the year to really get through it. And that's my plan.
Yeah. You would think like picking up an open shotgun is just yanking the trigger and going, but it's not.
It's not. Again, Joel Turner, I borrowed his for, I think, a stage for funsies at the class. And I was like, listen, Kenzie, even though it's an open shotgun with the red dot, you still have to aim. And I was like, no, you don't have to aim.
It's a shotgun. That's not what I heard.
Yeah. I was like, you're right.
So when we travel for matches, it's for me, it's a matter of what can I bring? What can I leave behind? Because if I'm going in a vehicle, I bring everything. But if I'm flying, like I have to be selective because you have to make weight. So have you found it to be different flying with open gear versus what you were shooting before, which is tack gear?
Yeah, and it's going to come down to platforms that you run, right? So like 2011 platforms, there's a ton of gear that I can borrow because everybody under the sun has STI or maybe Atlas or just like the MBX mags. A lot of people are going to have those mag pouches as well. I'm not really picky about mag pouches. As long as you run ELS, like easy to go. But in terms of ammo, like nowadays with how much extra ammo I like to have, I'm always shipping ammo. I've even shipped ammo to classes where I'm like, okay, I want to have 800 rounds of ammo. So I'm not putting that on a plane. Again, my Genesis arms, not a lot of people are running the Gen 12s. So that's something I'm going to have to plan for of like, okay, I've got to bring my mags. No one's going to have interchangeable magazines. So that's something that's like a priority. When it comes to like AR-15s, maybe it's like traveling on flying stuff sucks because it's normally, like you said, you drive. I bring every D60 I have, all my mag bowls, every coupled mag. I think I even loaded up coupled mags and never once used them at the last match. Who am I? But yeah, flying is totally like no nonsense. Least amount of gear, least amount of stuff. Lightweight too is the way to go. So like even my rear bags, like normally a heavier one because I shoot like the PRS stuff, and if it's already set up, then I'll run a heavy, like more comfy bag. But I'm going with like super light. Maybe I'll put it in a carry-on. Maybe I'll put it in a backpack, you know.
I've seen people use their shooting bags as like pillows on the plane.
Yeah, you know? So that's just been fun and something I don't compromise. Nowadays, it's a headache. It really is to fly with any sort of firearms, period. And so even if I'm going to a class or an event, like when I went to Gunsight, I flew with 2 of my guns. When I went through, into Idaho, like I'm going to be backpacking in Yellowstone and all the mountains. And so I'm going to have a firearm. It might not do anything against a bear, but I don't know the environment. I don't know local people. I don't know anything about that whole place. So for me, like checking a gun has become normal to me. It sucks. You can't check in the other way on some places. You can't get a digital boarding pass. Now you have to go back to print. Like they make it really freaking annoying for you to travel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something where I've become like that person that's going to carry a gun.
Yeah. It feels like that's the inconveniences by design. It feels like that's
100%.
Yeah.
100%. They do not want anyone flying with firearms. And every airport makes up a new rule and makes up some more bullshit and just doesn't really know what they don't know. And I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I've experienced that as well. And what was okay on one end of the flight is not okay on the other end of the flight, which is sometimes confusing. And sometimes, is this I'm sorry, or is this we're going to have to put on some steel bracelets here? Or so it's hard to, it's difficult to navigate. Do you have anything that you do to make sure that you're, one, keeping yourself safe, and then two, like following all the rules that need to be followed?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm one of those people that's probably like more of a people pleaser, but it just makes life easier for TSA and whatever airline you're flying on, is that I actually unload my magazine completely every time when I fly, and I actually have my like Supervel box of ammo that I always have full. That's why I load up the magazine when I land and unload it when I get off. So there are some airlines that allow you to fly with, fully loaded magazines. I just make it easy for TSA. So I do that. I always have a chamber flag in my handguns, rifles, shotguns, doesn't matter. So like I flag it and put it in whatever hard case, and I just make it easy. So they can see lock back, clear, chamber flags in. I've had them open the case before and look at that as well. But I try to make it easy where I bring the exact same thing. So this sounds so stupid, but because I'm at the point I'm at, I have a flying handgun that I always fly with. I have the flying holster. I have the flying lockbox. If I just make it where I don't forget what gun, what gear, what ammo, like I make sure I just have it. And so it's just something where it's routine now. So if you can eliminate too many variables or too many whatever, then it just makes it a lot simpler to travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think unloading your magazines is one of those things where you may technically, I'm sorry?
It's made up from airport to airport, right?
Yeah, but what I was going to say is to your point, you may win that argument with your papers and everything, but now you've not made any goodwill, right? So you might as well just, download your mags into your Supervel box or whatever, and make sure that, you're not raising any red flags. Like I want to be like the dude that slides through, the gray man no one is concerned about or anything. So yes, ma'am, no ma'am. And, smile and on my way to shoot a match, that kind of thing.
100%. So it's a harder way to do things, but it's something that I just think is easier for them. They don't know. Honestly, 99% of those people probably never even looked at a firearm. So whenever they open the case, you don't even know what you're looking at. You just looked at it and it's good. And I'm like, you didn't check that it's empty? Or no. Whatever.
The very first time I flew with guns, I was really nervous to do it. And I was going to Hard as Hell in St. George, Utah, and I was flying out of Austin airport. And I'm nervous and I'm like shaking, and I'm like, put my box there. I was like, I need to declare unloaded firearms. And she's like, all right, honey, fill this out, and hands it to me. And then she's like, now you need to put it inside. I was like, is it okay to open my case? She's like, well, how are you going to put it inside? I was like, oh yeah, okay. So she obviously knows she's got me now because I'm like asking dumb questions. So I open it up and I put the thing in there, and she touches the lid so I can't close it. And she looks in there and she goes, I do not know what I am looking at. And
my favorite story ever.
I love it. And then, it was great after that. We both chuckled, and then she sent me on my way. No big deal.
I love that. Actually, that's like the sweetest moment in an airport ever. Oh.
She was awesome. Yeah. I've found way more friendly people than I have unfriendly, but the unfriendly they stand out because they're notable because, okay, now you're going to ruin my day. I may miss my flight or whatever. So.
Right. I mean, I've come down the baggage service office, and I just had someone like cuss me out, like, why are you waiting here? You've been here forever. What do you want? And I was like, oh, you need to go get my bag. And I know that it's stuck up there. And like, oh, do you have a missing bag? Why are you here? You don't need to be here. It'll be on the conveyor belt. And I'm like, I don't want to tell you why I have to be here. But it's several times I've had to go up and be like, I'm that person. I have a firearm. I need you to go get my bag. Or I have a firearm, so I know it's going to be here. And they're always assuming it's like telling me to go do something else. I was like, no, I promise I got to be here. Same with checking in. They're like, you can check in on the kiosk. Check in. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the word. Not that it's like a bad thing, but just, man, I know I have to be in this line. I'm telling you. Like, that's it.
Yeah. You're right about like just saying guns. Like that does freak people out. So I always go unloaded firearms.
Because I'm fully unarmed telling you like where my guns are or picking them up, and I would rather tell you guns and have one on me and be like, oh yeah, I'm not worried about it. No, I'm vulnerable still.
Vulnerable. Have you ever found your firearms case lying on the ground when you went to the security office to pick it up?
No, but I have had that happen to friends. Like even theirs coming out on the conveyor belt and not going to the baggage service office, or it arrived on a flight before theirs and wasn't even locked up. And I was like, hell no, like,
Yeah, I haven't had that, but I definitely have showed up and it's just lying on the ground. Okay, so I'll go pick this up now.
Yeah, I made the mistake as a cool kid with my stickered hard case, whatever, and now I'm like, cool, I'm never using that ever when I fly.
So funny you mentioned that, because my case has Rode microphone and like other camera gear stickers on it. So
Smart.
If anyone ever asks, because people always ask what's in the case. They see the big locks and everything, and they're like, what's in the case? You know what's in the case, bro. But I've done surveying equipment. I've told them camera equipment. I've told them, I can't remember. Yeah. Ooh, golf clubs. I should use that one next time.
Yep. Yeah, because that was the big thing when I started shipping a lot of different things. I would just be like, this is mechanical parts. It's golf clubs.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say machined parts because technically it's correct, but
that's correct.
Also I'm not telling you exactly what it is.
Nope.
So
I'm there.
Yeah, I like it. So always be carrying. It is possible to carry on a plane.
Yep.
So, okay. So we're in 2024. This is like the goals time, right? You set up goals and resolutions and things like that. So what do you have a process for setting up goals for your shooting your shooting season? And then what are you doing for goals for 2024?
Yeah, so the goals for shooting in 2024 should always be about yourself. It's not really comparing yourself to others or where they're at, but it's something where you have to go into a realistic expectation of where you're going to come out in the results depending on the work that you put in ahead of time. And so looking at something like the AK matches, and again, it depends on who's going to be there in terms of a realistic result, but I'm always going to bet on myself on like High Lady, or if I'm shooting open division or PCC division, the AK stuff is I want to be top 5, top 10. It really depends on who's of the who's are going to be there. But I've had those results, right? Like I've shot AK Masters and I've kept up with some of the pros and landed top 5, top 3, top 10, whatever. For precision rifle series, I can tell you bottom third, 100%, and I'm okay with that. You know what? Like, if I'm just like not last, like I'm happy. I have no grandeur, High Lady. No, that's not happening. Like I'm there to learn, and that sport is going to take a ton of dedication, time to get good at that I'm not interested in. No offense. 3Gun, I've already told you, with open division is like, I had a lot of fun last year, and I had a lot of really nice compliments from friends of mine. I shot 2 3-gun matches back to back and beat one friend that traveled together with another friend and beat him on the next one, literally by a spot. So it was like 3rd and 4th and 5th were like point something percentage, and I got 4th. And then next match was 18th and he was 19th. And the compliments came of, oh, you're like a legitimate shooter. Like we're going to be going to matches together and I'm going to be like, oh, Kenzie's going to be shooting. That was really cool. So it's never about beating other people, but it is about, I think, earning respect in that I've come 10 years of shooting. I have finally made the connections in 3-gun to where things are working. And now I have the gear, the guns, equipment, whatever. It's time to really put it to work and see what I can do. And then I talked about like IDPA or things that test me. So always, again, like Gunsight last year, but like always, I try to do something that I suck at, that I'm uncomfortable with, something that's going to push me to do something I don't practice a lot. So whether it's accuracy, defensive training, a new platform, a new gun, a new shooting discipline, like shotgun shooting is still my favorite thing in the whole world. And so maybe I need to go out and shoot. I was looking at ASA, like Confederation or Federation, I don't know, the I forgot what it's called, but like the acronym for all these different archery stuff and clay shooting and all this stuff of like, what do I do next? So that's kind of me. It depends on the results, depending on who's going, but also just like, where can I do the best that I can do depending on what I put into it. So that's how I look at 2024. And then industry events, like I love suppressors nowadays. So like I want to be at suppressor events. I would love to just do more opportunities of hunting articles, like highlighting some of the stuff that I just use to do the things, not just write a review, right? Have an experience and get to share that through whatever I use. So that's how I look at my goals for 2024.
For you, shooting is more than just like recreation, and you also use it obviously to test gear for articles you write, for your YouTube channel, for the podcast, and creating content there. So do you create like complementary goals for your content creation, or are those separate from your shooting experience?
Yeah, Ryan hated when I said, hey, bud, like this match, I'm here for content, not for really shooting. Like I am, but like content. What? No, and I made a great print article of like how to get into PRS shooting, and it was so fantastic. And so the content's there. I want to do one on the IWI Galileo and just highlight, hey, this is an awesome race AK. You don't have to spend $1 million nowadays on 7.62. Like 5.56 is still hella expensive, but like 7.62 is through the roof. But highlighting, yeah, the gear and the guns that can really hold up to it. And that's where I just enjoy the process of capturing content. And I like giving back in that way too. All my squad mates, or I used to do it and volunteer for matches, they all get photos, they all get video. I'm happy to do that part of it. And so I bring my real camera and I capture these photos. And also I use those in articles. Now you get to see iron sights, red dots, tac ops, open. Now you get to see like custom made PRS rifles versus stock rifles, like whatever it is. I'm always going to be thinking about like the content that can come from that. And so that's where just being in that world, I think, is mixing the two of those, but that's just something that's always going to be on my mind.
I know that we've talked about, several different disciplines of matches, and you've talked about how they all complement each other, and, they can increase your awareness and your ability in other matches. So you've got 3-gun plan, you have Kalash Bash plan. You mentioned maybe some more IDPA in the future. Do you have anything other than that within your sights? I mean, you said archery a little bit. Like what else is the next?
I want to put definitely like some shotgun clay, whether it's sporting clays or something like that, maybe 5 stand. I don't know, but I want to do, I need to do aerial clays. And I know that about myself. I don't know what's legal though, in terms of a mag fed shotgun on a range like that. And so maybe it's just something where I go to practice, but like truly I need time behind my mag fed EOTech and the barrel and the chokes and all that stuff. So that would be one of those. The PCC platform was interesting too, because the PCC directly translated into moving with a rifle over the shoulder, maybe around barricades or walls or what have you. So that was something where the PCC kind of became part of my body. Yeah, with pistol is just having more trigger time behind pistols in terms of when I do videos at the range. My goal is to actually put in time, and I've actually been doing that recently, where I bring my gun belt, bring my holster, bring my mag pouch, and I get reps in, because right now, like with everything in turmoil with USPSA, I'm not really shooting pistol much anymore. IDPA is great, but again, it's 2 mags on your belt, 1 to start with, 10 round mags and 18 round max stages is not like a lot of trigger time, and it's not a lot of steel either. They still have challenging targets and they have moving targets and all of that, but like when I go to Zoo City, and that's my goal, 3-gun, it's itty bitty freaking steel, targets out to 40 yards, spinner pistol targets. Like they don't make it easy, man. And like that's not stuff you can practice at home, but it's stuff where you just have to know your optic, your holds, your ability to see targets fast enough, what have you. So yeah, all the things. Archery is something I really want to do, but I have realistically looked at it at 2025 because I really want to get the shotgun priority down first, and then I've looked at that because people don't know, I do put content out every now and then, but my bow's behind me. But I do actually shoot a lot of archery in my backyard. It's something I want to hunt with one day, and would love to just go and shoot, maybe 3D or indoor archery competitions.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. What is the big 3D archery competition that everyone goes to, like in the mountains of Colorado? There's one of like ski areas of Breckenridge and stuff like that. It looks like such a kick in the pants. It's like basically just a hike and shoot kind of thing.
Kick in the pants. That sounds fun to me. That sounds like my kind of fun. Seriously.
That's what I'm saying. Kick in the pants is fun. It's an old guy saying, but it's meant to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm into that torture for sure.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I like it. Well, so what's next for the podcast and your writing career?
Yeah, so for 2024, I've been releasing weekly episodes back with the Reticle Up podcast, and I have some really interesting guests that are really hard to book that might happen in the spring. I know you and I have talked about that offline, but hopefully this is the year for that. And I love podcasting. I can't tell you what podcasting does for me on just like a friendship level, on a connection level, on inspiration too. Like whenever I hear your podcast interviewing people, I learn something. Whenever I listen to it, sounds silly, but actually in other like sports or other arenas of sounds dumb, but like actors, actresses, writers, what have you, I listen to podcasts outside of the gun world to get inspiration of where they came from. Like they all have stories of how they made it in whatever respective industry that they're in. So Reticle Up podcast is something that's not going away. It's something I actually get just a great value out. I think of like mental health for me. The writing, I am double downing. I write for Widener's, Crossbreed Holsters. Even though Athlon got bought, they're still producing digital content and videos. I still have the brands I work with creating content, which is awesome and fun. So I'm still working on me. So Reticle Up YouTube channel, I've got my podcast on there, but I've been doing more gun reviews, like I said, gear reviews, all that at the beginning of the podcast, and seeing where it takes me. I might never be monetized. I might be shut down before I even make it. I might end up on Rumble, right? But it's something where I fell in love with the creative process now that I learned DaVinci software. And I found fun like editing. I found fun turning horizontal videos actually into vertical videos for Instagram, right? Like you have to have fun in that process. So I love writing too. I think that's like a creative outlet for me and something that like I just really enjoy and something that I like to share about my passion. So I think for me, Reticle Up podcast writing will be there. Gals Days, hopefully, going to happen. Nothing pending that blowing up, and just continue to do what I do to see what's next. And I don't know what that looks like. And, we're recording this podcast at a certain date and time, and all of this could be out the window when it comes out or, a week after. But that's what that I love about life is just to take it a day or a week or a month at a time and see what happens. And I enjoy that.
Nice. Well, folks, be sure to listen to the end for an epilogue if there's any changes. Kenzie will let you know. Future Kenzie will let you know.
Right.
I love it. So we've covered a lot of ground, but I have one last question for you, and it's for the folks listening. I know that going to your first match can seem intimidating, not knowing, anyone there, where to park, where to use the bathroom, all the things that we talked about, what gear to bring and stuff like that. And it's a huge hurdle to get over. It was for me. Like I spent years wanting to go to a match and not doing it. And when I finally did, it was, a big life changer for me, obviously. If someone's listening and, they're taking inspiration, they're seeing like all these amazing opportunities that have come because Kenzie put herself out there and really dug into the match environment, and they want to go try their first match, what kind of advice would you give that person?
Yeah, I know anyone listening to this podcast, if you found it, you're already going to have two mentors right here from Dave. And I'm just going to speak for Dave and say
Absolutely.
that because, I know it's true. If you wanted to get into, name it, PCSL, IDPA, 3-gun, 2-gun, whatever, he will tell you matches near him. He will point you to friends that are near you. I would literally adopt you and you would sign up for a match and then you would use all my guns and gear. And I'm not even joking about that, right? So the number one step is I say, reach out to us if you're listening to this. Step number 2, find a local. It doesn't even have to be a GM. Like I understand GM's the best and they're going to get you to where you want to be, right? But GM, master, A class, whatever, if that's the world, or just find someone who's really passionate and enthusiastic about what they love to do. So they don't have to be a high level shooter, but if there's someone that's going to be by your side, introducing you to everybody, showing you around the club, maybe, telling you what to expect of the range, the facility, the matches, whatever, DM them, message them, call them, ask them for help. Go to practicescore.com and just search your area that you're in and then type in what you're interested in. Steel Challenge. We haven't even really talked about that, but GSSF has its own website if you wanted to, shoot a Glock in a match. Whatever it looks like, Google it, research it, look at Practice Score, ask for a mentor, and then also reach out to your range. So if the range is hosting something, ask if you can spectate. The answer is 99.9% going to be yes, right? So go watch the match and then ask questions of those competitors of what is that belt? What are you shooting? How does this work? They're going to be so excited to have those questions. So showing up, again, my worst flaw, I think, is showing up, and people love it or hate it. So showing up, asking questions, and then being a student. And so I know Dave touched at the beginning of how, and I had this from somebody else, is how challenging sometimes a man can be at listening to anybody, female, male, or otherwise, or just checking their ego, or not wanting to ask for help, right? Because it's embarrassing to really not know what you're doing, but it's not. We all had to start there. So check your ego at the door, learn as much as you can, and be ready to come back for more and to be better, because the first experience might be tough. Your first, match score results are not going to be the best, but I can guarantee you if you stick with it, you're going to get a lot better and have a lot more fun and meet a lot of really cool people.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Kenzie, this has been a wonderful talk. I'm so excited for your 10th anniversary in competitive shooting. Thank you for being a guest on your own podcast. And thanks for allowing me to be your guest host. And folks, thanks for listening. This has been the Reticle Up podcast with Kenzie Fitzpatrick.
Thanks, Dave. Stay tuned for more podcast episodes coming soon in 2024.
Thanks for listening to the Reticle Up podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow along on social media at Reticle Up or 3GunKenzie.